Hey guys, today we're making these dip dye shorts. So here's what you need. I'm going to be using 3 plastic bins, plain table salt, a measuring spoon, this is just 1 tablespoon, and Dylon dye. You can use whatever type of dye you want, this is just what I'm using. I'm going to be using 3 different colors for this pair of shorts. These are 98% cotton and 2% spandex. So I'm filling my dye baths with hot water, and then I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of plain salt to each of the dye baths. And you want the salt to dissolve, so make sure that you stir it really well. Alright, before we get started with the dye, make sure you put on a pair of gloves because we don't want dye all over our hands. So here's the 2 colors I'm going to be using first. This is Bahama Blue and Tropical Green. So here I'm adding just a little bit of this Bahama Blue to my first dye bath, and then I'm going to add a little of the Tropical Green. I'm just wanting to create kind of a minty aquamarine color, but a very pale kind of pastel shade. So that's why I'm only using a tiny bit of dye. And of course, make sure to stir it because you want all of those grains of dye to be fully dissolved. Now for the second dye bath, I'm using the same 2 colors, again with the Bahama Blue. I'm just adding quite a bit more because I want this to be a bolder color. This is going to be my medium color. So I want it to be a lot stronger than the first dye bath. So that's my Bahama Blue that I just added, and then I'm adding some of that Tropical Green and stirring that. In the third dye bath, I'm adding navy, and I want this to be a rich kind of indigo color, so I'm adding kind of a lot of dye, a lot being around maybe 1/3 of the package. And now I'm soaking the shorts in hot water. These were already pre-washed, so we're just soaking them so they can be ready to really take up that dye. And I'm dipping them into the first dye bath. This is that pastel, minty, kind of pale aquamarine shade, and I'm just going to work that in up and down for about 10 minutes or so. And then I'm switching to my middle dye bath, so my second dye bath, which is my medium color, and I'm going to slowly dip those in, again moving them up and down until they are about the color that I want them to be. And then I'm going to move to my third dye bath, which is the navy. Now here, this is a really bold color, so I'm just going to dip in the very top portion of the shorts. So I'm just going to work that dye for another 10 minutes. So I spend about 10 minutes on each of the dye baths. Now I'm going to lay the shorts out on an old towel, and I'm going to let these sit overnight. But before I do, I'm going to take a plastic garbage bag and slip that in between the shorts because I don't want any of the dye soaking through from one side to the other and creating weird kind of funky spots. They're exactly how I want them to be, so I want it to stay that way. Don't want anything changing in the night. Alright, now it's morning time. I'm going to remove that plastic bag, and we're going to go ahead and rinse the shorts in cold water. When the water runs clear, then it's time to move on to washing them. So you can throw these right in your washing machine, wash them just like you normally would. Add your regular detergent, and I'm going to turn this on small, hot, cold, and regular, and then lay them flat out to dry. And here's the results. I'm really happy with how they turned out. I love the blue shades. I like that kind of navy indigo fading into the kind of pale aquamarine. And I really like to find shorts that have kind of interesting patterns on the front or kind of detail, and I like these because they have that crochet detail. So it just makes it a little bit different, and maybe like you may have purchased these in the store, already dip dyed, so it kind of gives a more professional look. I also did this other pair of shorts that I had to show you guys. I didn't film this pair. It was just really basic though. I did it exactly the same way, except I only used 1 color of dye. I used Jeans Blue from Dylon, and I just created 3 different shades of it. So a light, a medium, and a dark shade, and I dipped the shorts exactly the same way. I really love how these turned out too, and I hope you guys do too. I hope you like this project. So I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.